Gute Woche, everyone. Gute Woche. Gute Woche. So this week, the past Thursday morning. Okay, so it's 2 days after. It's already a day after the day after Simchas Torah, and we're looking to stay connected. So I'm in the mikveh going to start the day, and the thought that occurs to me is, hey, lives of tzaddikim, that should be returned. Last year we had Malava Malchus and talk about the various different tzaddikim. So it occurred to me, we should really do one soon. And I was thinking, okay, we should start with Cheshvan. Chodesh Cheshvan, we should start do Malava Malchus. Then I said, nah, you have to start the year off. The way you stand Shabbos Bereishis, so will go the whole year. So why wait till next week? Let's do it this week. So we'll do Matzah Shabbos, Shabbos Bereishis. We'll get a good head start on the year. So I was thinking, but if I'm doing it on Shabbos Bereishis, it's not yet Cheshvan, it's still Tishrei. So I need to find the tzaddik whose yahrzeit is in Tishrei. And then the thought just popped into my head. I said, I think Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev, for some reason, Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev, his yahrzeit is in Tishrei. Maybe we should do one on Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev. And as I had this thought very convincingly that that's what we're going to do. Then I walked out of the mikveh and I meet Rabbi Thaler. And I say, Rabbi Thaler, I know he knows these things. I say, when is the Berditchev's yahrzeit? He said, the Berditchev's yahrzeit is today. Now's the Berditchev's yahrzeit. So no matter what, no matter how far we are from Ukraine and from the city of Berditchev, Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem, we're still connected. And tonight, as we sit over here, as I always like to say, on top of the pizza shop, and we brought some of the pizza from the pizza shop up, yet we are connecting with the tzaddikim of all time, with the future, with the past, with the present, with all Jews. And today we have the schus to Hashir Malava Malka, with the saintly, holy of the holies, the great master and teacher, and he's known, the defender of the Jewish people, Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev. So we extend a holy invitation to Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev. I would say, let's put it this way. We extend not a holy invitation, it's probably holy because Jews are holy, but we'd rather say we're extending a very simple, sincere, and when I'm talking about sincere, Baruch Hashem, my good friend just arrived, and he brought a lot of sincerity, L'chaim. So we're extending an incredible and a very simple, sincere, real invitation, and asking Rabbi Levi Yitzchak ben Sada Sasha, holy neshama, to come a little bit to Los Angeles and spend some time with us over here and shine his powerful light to all of us and to all the Jewish people that are here in LA. L'chaim ala baracha, l'chaim everyone. Maybe should bless everyone b'schus. We all know that when you say the words Rabbi Levi Yitzchak ben Sada Sasha, the Holy Ruzhin has said that by saying the name of Rabbi Levi Yitzchak ben Sada Sasha, it is ma'oided, it awakens tremendous merits for the Jewish people. And his son, the Tzaddik Gerer Rebbe, said, and I think it's also brought in Chassidus Chabad, that you don't even have to say the name Rabbi Levi Yitzchak ben Sada Sasha, but if you just mention the city of Berditchev, you're already pouring and being ma'oder tremendous chusim on the Jewish people just by mentioning the name Berditchev. So we mention the holy name of Rabbi Levi Yitzchak, and we ask Rabbi Levi Yitzchak, and as a form of an invitation to Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev, we're going to sing the melody that Rabbi Levi Yitzchak made in his special tefillah for Matzah Shabbos, that Jewish women, mainly Jewish women, say. It doesn't hurt for a man to say the tefillah of Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev as well. The Gotfen Avram, which is the Rabbi Levi Yitzchak's special request for chesed and rachmim for the Jewish people on Matzah Shabbos. So Moshe, let's go with Gott von Avram.
Thanks for the point.
L'chaim u'lebracha.
About 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I stood by the caver of Rebbeinu Medichin, looked at the caver, put my hand on the caver, and sang
Gott von Avram at the caver.
at the caver.
We got von Avraham und von Yitzchak und von Yaakov. Bedank Volk Israel von allen Beisen in dein Elohim. Also liebe Shabbos Kodesh geht aber. Also Wochen nach Kodesh in der Jahr. Chance kommen Zamunah Sheleima. Zamunah Chachamim. Zavat Chavedi Udvegas Aboire Baruchu Oy Mamen Tzai Mishloish Esrei Gorim Shana Uvegula Kroiva Bimeir Aviyameinu Uveslias Amesim Uvenevuas Moshe Rabbeinu Alav Hashem Ali boy, no shloimo, du bist doch ein Neisen, ein Kava Vaya. Gib deine Liebe, Kinder, kein Gejagt ist zu Neime. Und alle zu den und gerade in Cholila. Alle Wochen in der heidischen Jahr, sonst kommen zu gesund und zu Maso und zum Bracha Miatzlacha. Chesed, zu bonet chaye yad bichei, u'mezayenei revi'yechei. Oy v'siyata nishma b'bayah, oy lanu lechol Yisrael, oy v'novo v'oiman, oy amen. Oy
Chus of Reb Levi Yitzchak ben Saresh Sasha. The holy Reb Levi Yitzchak of Barditchev, the Baal Shem Tov once came into shul, the holy Baal Shem Tov once came into shul, and he had a bottle of l'chaim, a bottle of mashke, a bottle of l'chaim, and the Baal Shem Tov, it was an ordinary day, and the Baal Shem Tov gave l'chaim to all the people. This was in the year 1740, about 6 years after the Baal Shem Tov's his galus. The Baal Shem Tov gave l'chaim for all of his talmidim, and when they were wondering and they wanted to know ma yoyme yomayim, what's today, and the Baal Shem Tov said, today an unbelievable neshama came down to the world, a neshama whose sole purpose is going to be melamed zchus on Yidden, to be able to bring and to defend and bring out the merits of the Jewish people, unlike any type of limud zchus that has been in the Jewish people before. The holy saintly Chayza from Lublin, the seer of Lublin, would say, for 17 years or 16 years, every day the Chayza from Lublin thanked the Eibishter for an entire hour. Every day, the saintly Chayza from Lublin thanked the Eibishter for an entire hour for bringing into this world the saintly soul of the great and holy Reb Levi Yitzchak of Barditchev. His master and his teacher, Reb Levi Yitzchak's Rebbe, the holy Mezritcher Magid. It's a whole question why Reb Levi Yitzchak of Barditchev didn't see the Baal Shem Tov. Reb Levi Yitzchak was 20 years old when the Baal Shem Tov passed away. So l'chura, he should have been able to see the holy Baal Shem Tov. The reason he didn't see the Baal Shem Tov, his holy Magid, his holy master and teacher, the Mezritcher Magid, revealed to him that before his neshama came into the world, there was tremendous, tremendous opposition above. They said such a fiery soul, a soul burning with such love for the Eibishter, love for the Jewish people, and love for the Torah, would cause such an isoidus of tshuva in the world that it would take away bechira chavshis, it would take away free will. And as a result of that, there was a great opposition for allowing Reb Levi Yitzchak Barditchev's neshama come into the world. So they had to negotiate with the Satan to allow, the Satan should allow, because the Satan has certain, the Eibishter considers. He set up a system, and the system has to work. So the Eibishter worked it out with the Satan as follows, that there would be 3 conditions that would serve to impede Reb Levi Yitzchak in his avodah. Number 1, his holy neshama will never get to meet the holy Baal Shem Tov. If he would have seen the holy Baal Shem Tov, the Baal Shem Tov would have sparked his neshama to such a blaze, because he was such a keli, that it would have been too intense. So he couldn't come to the Baal Shem Tov, he only came to the Magid. That was the first thing. Second thing was that he's going to have tremendous redifus. From all the Talmidim of the first generation of Chassidish Rabbeim, Reb Levi Yitzchak suffered terribly, terribly from the opposition. Chassidus was then new in the world. There was much opposition. And Reb Levi Yitzchak was a perfect target, because Reb Levi Yitzchak was such a fiery person. And when he davened, he would stand on one end of the room, and they said about Reb Levi Yitzchak that he had within him Nishmas Rabbi Akiva. It says about Rabbi Akiva, when Rabbi Akiva davened, he would start on one end of the room, he end on the other end of the room. When Reb Levi Yitzchak of Barditchev would sit down to make a bracha on food, his eslavos and his fire in his bracha that he made was so crazy, it was so wild, it was so beyond, that he would end up in a whole different end of the room for where his food was. So then they had to bring him back to the food. That was his eslavos. So it was easy, you can imagine, to have a person like that, he was easy to poke fun of, and for people to get on to him and to really be roid of him. So he had tremendous redifus, and that impeded him in his avodah. And the third thing was that he was going to be a rabbi in a community. And that would drain his energies a lot. Being a rav in a community, because it takes a lot being a rav. So there were many other Chassidish Rabbeim that were in a rav. Reb Levi Yitzchak was pashat the rav in the city of Barditchev. He was an halachic authority. Reb Levi Yitzchak had thousands of students. He was the chavrusa, people don't know this. When he was young, he was a chavrusa from the Pri Megadim. Now, if anybody ever tried learning Pri Megadim, you realize that, you don't make it to 3 lines with the Pri Megadim. It's one of the hardest for them to learn. It's very, very difficult. Talking about Go'inish. They were Chavrusas. Reb Levi Yitzchak of Berditchever with the Pri Megadim was a Goyen. His son and the mayor says that Reb Levi Yitzchak had a yeshiva in Berditchev. He taught thousands of Talmidim, Gufei Torah. You're not just dealing with someone who was a Chassidish Rebbe, a Himmel Yid, a man, a mystical saint, which he was, but at the same time, he was a Gana Goinim. He was a big Goyen. And he was a rabbi, and that was... The holy is Mechutin, the holy Reb Shneir Zalman of Liadi, the Mechutin of the holy Berditchever said as follows. He said to his son, he said 2 things. First of all, during the famous Chasana, it was the Zlobiner Chasana, when the Mittler Rebbe, the son of the Balatanya, did a shidduch with Rabbi Levi Yitzchak's Einikel. And it was a very big chasana, it was a huge chasana. Because Chasidei Chabad in Russia was like numered in the thousands. And the Berditchever was the Berditchever. And it was an amazing wedding that everybody came. The Balatanya said a mimer. And when he concluded the mimer, it ended something with Tzadik Hashem B'chol Derachav. And the Alter Rebbe, Rabbi Shneir Zalman of Liadi, said like this. The Eibishter is Tzadik L'mayla. That up there in heaven, the Eibishter is Tzadik Hashem B'chol Derachav. The Eibishter is the Tzadik. And the Tzadik Tachton, he says, the Eibishter is Tzadik Elyon. The Eibishter is supernal Tzadik above. And Rabbi Levi Yitzchak or Berditchev, it's Tzadik Tachton. He is the Tzadik down here in this world. The Alter Rebbe, Reb Shneir Zalman of Liadi, said about Rabbi Levi Yitzchak to his son, he said, Malach Michoel makes zich shemen. Malach Michoel should be embarrassed with himself on the limud zchus that he gives for the Jewish people in front of the limud zchus of Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev. His limud zchus of Malach Michoel, who is supposed to be, he's the advocate, he's the lawyer, so to speak, for the Jewish people, he should be ashamed of himself that he doesn't come close in his limud zchus to the limud zchus of Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berditchever. And he said it shouldn't be a chiddush that Malach Michoel can't compete with Rabbi Levi Yitzchak, because Rabbi Levi Yitzchak is an neshama. And neshamas are so much greater than malachim. He said from the limud zchus of Rabbi Levi Yitzchak or Berditchev, the Eibishter constructed a new heichal in heaven called Heichal HaZchus. A new heichal is built in heaven called Heichal HaZchus, the heichal of merit. And he said, from then on, any Jew across the world who is melamed zchus on any neshama, no matter in which body that neshama is, on any neshama, and a yid is melamed zchus, and says a kapitel tehillim v'yas darf zu sein, meaning he says a kapitel tehillim to help another Jew, for the sake of another Jew, so then both these people enter into the heichal of zchus, and both of them werden sicher geholfen werden. Both of them are definitely being helped in whatever they need. So again, in the merit, since Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Berditchev opened up this new heichal, so when a Jew says something positive about another Jew, and then says a kapitel tehillim sincerely for that person, then definitely both of them receive a big Yeshua. The great and saintly Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Berditchev, in addition to all of his thing, the ikar inyan of Rabbi Levi Yitzchak was his tremendous limud zchus for the Jewish people. Rabbi Levi Yitzchak, as we know, expressed himself once, Eibishter, if you're going to forgive the Jewish people, is good. If chas v'shalom you won't, then I am going to be Megala Soid. I'm going to reveal a terrible, terrible secret, which the Eibishter, you're going to be very ashamed if I release the secret. So you please be Meichel the Yidden. What kind of secret is he going to be Megala if chas v'shalom the Eibishter is not Meichel the Yidden? He said, I'm going to reveal the secret that the Eibishter do geis mit pasel tefillin. That the Eibishter is wearing tefillin that is not kosher. Because what does it say in the Eibishter's tefillin? Our tefillin, it says, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. And what does it say in the Eibishter's tefillin? Miki Amcha Yisrael, Goy Echad Ba'aretz. And if you don't forgive them, then they're not a Goy Echad. And if they're not a Goy Echad, then your Goy Echad and your tefillin is not Vistarf zu sein. So that's the Meichel Zan Yidden, have to be Meichel the Jewish people. Rabbi Levi Yitzchak once saw a gezeda on the Jewish people regarding Parnasa. That there was supposed to be a Rosh Hashanah, there was supposed to be, he saw Lamaila, that there was going to be Chas v'Shalom, a very great limitation when it comes to parnasa, that people are going to have a very hard year. So Rabbi Levi Yitzchak says as follows. Here, only Rabbi Levi Yitzchak can talk like this to the Eibishter. Rabbi Levi Yitzchak says like this: Eibishter, we got married. We did a shidduch, Knesset Yisrael with you. Okay, we did a shidduch. He says, I know why you took us, why you married us. You did a yichus shidduch. We had beautiful yichus. We have Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. So you did a shidduch with a nice family. He says, but you, Eibishter, you don't have yichus. You don't have a father. So the yichus you don't have. So we didn't do a yichus shidduch. With you, we did a shidduch. We did a geld shidduch. Because you're wealthy. You're rich. Liya kesev, liya zov. To me is that the Eibishter says, to me is all the gold and to me is all the silver. So he says, Eibishter, the whole shidduch is based on this, that you're going to supply the cash. And that's how Reb Levi Yitzchak changed things around Lamaila.
Oh,
Running out already. There's like you'll see a bag, a box. Yeah. Oh, I don't want them to forget them there also. I don't want to forget them here. It's cans. Hey, city of Bardichev, there was a fellow once came to Reb Levi Yitzchak, and he said he wanted to bring someone to a din Torah. There was a fellow, there was two businesses. One was on one side of the town and one was on the other side of the town. And each business had its merchandise, whatever it was selling. And there was one person who was pretty shrewd mind and a good business cup. And he realized that both these businesses can do much, much better if they would switch. And the one that's on this side of town would be selling what's on the other side, and the other one this, because it's all about location. So the location where they were set up were wrong if they would switch. And he figured that would make their businesses far more profitable. And so he wanted to broker the deal that the two businesses should switch. Problem was that he wasn't a known broker. No one knew, he was just a simple guy, but he had this idea. And so if he's going to try to get involved in this with two big business people, that they wouldn't listen to him. So he went and he found a more established broker and a guy who was used to making big deals. And he gave him the idea. But he said, on the condition that you will supply me with some commission on the deal. Whatever it is, the percentage goes to me. Upgeret. The deal was made. Fine. The deal was made. The guy goes and he brokers the thing, and it was a killer deal. Both businesses gave a big commission to this guy. It was a great idea the way they did this whole exchange. He made a killing, this fellow, and the other guy came to him and he asked him for his chelik in the commission. He didn't want to give him anything. The other guy was obviously very upset. They came to a din Torah in front of Reb Levi Yitzchak of Bardichev, And Rabbi Levi Yitzchak or Berditchev came out to Psak that he has to give him. Okay, a couple of weeks go by. The fellow was back at the door of Rabbi Levi Yitzchak. And he's again asking Rabbi Levi Yitzchak, and he says, the guy didn't want to pay. He didn't accept. He's not following through what the Psak was from the Din Torah that he has to pay, and he doesn't pay. So Rabbi Levi Yitzchak summoned the other person to him. The other person came to Rabbi Levi Yitzchak. Rabbi Levi Yitzchak said, you should know, I'm also a broker. I'm the broker between the Eibishter and the Jewish people. And I also make very big deals. Let me tell you about a deal that I made recently. I also noticed that there was chayra, there was certain merchandise that it was in heaven, and the merchandise that was in heaven is not needed in heaven. And I noticed that there was merchandise that is on earth that is not needed here either. It's not doing us any good over here on earth. The merchandise that was on earth that was useless for us amongst the Jewish people is chatoyim, avonos upshoyim. 3 types of avedas. Chatoyim, the sins unintentionally. Avonos are sins that we do intentionally. Pshoim are the ones we do when we're a little bit angry at the Eibishter. So these are chatoyim, avonos upshoyim. It's nishka gutes chayra. It's not good chayra. There's nothing. There's no benefit over here. So, and up there, I saw there's also schayra that they have up there in Shemayim. The schayra that's up in Shemayim is mechila, slicha, v'kapara. So I came up with a great idea. Why don't we switch the merchandise and give the chatoim avonos upsham up there and bring the slicha, mechila, and kapara down here. So when I presented this lamaila, they liked it. They were okay with it, but they said, you got to go speak to the Jewish people. I came to the Jewish people and I offered the offer, and they were like, they weren't so excited immediately on this. So I had to go back and see if I can negotiate for some more. So I realized there's another 3 elements, different merchandise that they don't need, lamaila, and that is bana, chaya, mezayna. So I figured we'll add that into the package. They're going to give us lamaila, mechila, slicha, and kapara, forgiveness. But they're also going to give us bana, children, healthy children, chaya, gesund, good life, health, umezayna revicha, and mezayna revicha, which means parnasa barchava, livelihoods. I made this deal, but then it came time for commission. He was the broker, such a deal, a work that was gewaldig, an unbelievable deal. Now it's time for commission. So I said from the Jewish people, I don't want to take commission. If it came from the Eibishter, they asked me, what commission do you want for brokering? I said, I trust the Eibishter, he'll already pay me. I don't have to demand, he'll already take care of it. The Eibishter said to me, the Eibishter himself said to me, Levi Yitzchak, such a good deal you made. I'm going to give you brokerage. You know what your commission is on it? Is that you are the one who's in charge of where the Bana Chaya Mezayna goes. You're the one who can decide where the Bana Chaya Mezayna goes. And therefore, Rabbi Levi Yitzchak turns to this Yid and he says as follows: please pay up the commission and do it really, really fast. The fellow wasn't too smart, and whatever he was lacking in wisdom, he had double portion in chutzpah. He laughed the whole thing off, and he went home. And he went home laughing to his wife and telling his wife what kind of, Rabbi Levi Yitzchak's story. And in the middle of his story, he suddenly started feeling horrible. And before he knew it, a fever shot up. And he was mamish shaking till he fell into bed. And they called the doctors and nothing could help. And he was getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And it looked like they have to call the Chevra Kadisha any moment. And at that moment, he turned to his wife and he said, quick, 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 quick. Grab the money and go running to Rabbi Levi Yitzchak and beg him. So this is what she did. She took the money, she came to Rabbi Levi Yitzchak, and she brought the money. She said, Rebbe, please daven for my husband. And Rabbi Yitzchak said, don't worry, alles is good, alles is good. He's all good already. She came home, her husband was, Baruch Hashem, all gesund and stark, and he paid his commissions when he needed to, on time. L'chaim, l'chaim. I want to thank those who were mishtatev in today's special Malava Malka for Reb Levi Yitzchak. Mrs. Dower had been a sponsor, and this is for the zchus of her sister's neshama. No, where is it? You sent it to me over here. No? What's the name? Panina Gittel? Bashmul Meir, may your neshama have a great aliyah. I want to thank Michal Slotowitz for her participation in this. Hashem should bench you and your family with big bracha. Also want to thank Esther Roth for her participation. The Eibush to bench you and your family with tremendous brachas. And Yossi Ullman, who's downstairs making pizza, was a sponsor. He didn't sponsor pizza, but he gave money for pizza. Yossi Ullman, or he's going to give the money, Bezos Hashem. Thank you, Yossi Ullman. The Eibush should bench you, and the light of the Holy Tzaddik should shine upon you and your family, and on everyone. Give him a good nigin.
was a little kid, 4 days before Shabbat.
She was a little scared. Wow, when's the chasana?
Hey, David.
What's your college name?
Steinman. From Bar Party. Her uncle's the famous Uman guy.
Ah. Simon Bracha mit Mazel. Wow, so type of soccer. So when is the chasana?
Hey, David. December 12th.
Hey Davis, the biggest day in Chabad. You guys know? Hey la 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 Kol Kama. Hey la 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 la. Oh da 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 Hey, Od Yisham, Abba Yore Yehuda, we give a big Mazel Tov to Moshe Simcha Chapnik. Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov. He heard such good stories from me, from Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev, and I can never do it as good as I did it in 4th grade. Mazel Tov. The Eibusher should give you. The schus of Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev should be chasana, should be shatoivu mitzlachas, should build a binyan adayad, and should have bon chayim zoyne revicha la'adul netzach netzachim chayim. Want to give a big bracha to the Mansuri family for sponsoring today. The Eibusher should bench them. The bracha, tremendous blessings, and shidduchim for their daughters, and alles good. Brachas ad belidai to you, to your wife, to the whole mishpacha, l'chayim. We know one time Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev came in. It was in the morning of Slichis, and Rabbi Levi Yitzchak wasn't coming to shul, and they were waiting and waiting and waiting. And finally, Rabbi Levi Yitzchak comes to shul, and he's carrying a nice big box with leftover pieces of donuts and other kinds of pastries. He has a little garbage left over, cups, schnapps cups, and he's bringing it, and a little bit left over, a bottle of mashke. And that's not the way you usually come to slichas. Something was very wrong with the whole situation. So Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev related later, after they had slichas. He said, today I had a problem because I had nothing to come to slichas with. I didn't have what I needed in order to go to battle. In order to go up there in heaven, to go to battle, I needed the ammunition. I needed something. I didn't have it. And then I decided to go to the slums of the town where the people are sleeping on the streets. And there is a whole bunch of non-Jews sleeping out, and homeless people sleeping on the street. But sadly, due to the poverty of the Yidden in those days, there were quite some Jews that also found their place sleeping in the street. So then everybody was deep asleep. It was about 4 o'clock in the morning. And I believe Yitzchak walked over and he tapped on a Jew, on a Yid that was sleeping. And he asked him, Reb Yid, how about a drink? And he puts the scotch next to his nose. You know, these people were pretty heavy drinkers to forget a little bit of the misery. So he puts him a little scotch, but then the Yid looks at him and he, just at the first second, he says, he pushes it away. And he says, Negelwasser. And he goes over to another Yid and he shakes the Jew up. And he wants to give him, he puts him a little piece of cake next to his mouth. These were hungry people. And he looks at him and he says, brachas. Didn't say brachas yet. Comes to someone else and he knocks him and he wakes him up and he wants to give him a little bit water or something. And he says, slichas. After daven and slichas. So then after he finished, he went over to a couple of non-Jews that were sleeping. And he woke him up. And before you know it, he stuffed lots of donuts down their mouths. Lots of, I don't know, you don't call it l'chaims by whatever. But he was handing out and it went pretty well. So the Levi Yitzchak said, that's all I needed. To come to Slichas, to be able to show the Eibishter. Mika Amcha Yisrael. It's a whole different parsha. It's a whole different reality. It's a whole different story. One time, Rebbe Levi, now, there's one part of davening that we all have a little bit of a hard time, at least I do, and I've heard from other people too, on Rosh Hashanah, I love Rosh Hashanah davening, but I don't do well with Unesana Toikif. And there's the part over there, but Rosh Hashanah Yikasevun, B'Yom Tzim Kippur Yichasemun, and then it gets very gory, Meyichya, Miyamos, and then it goes through a whole bunch of other things, and everybody deals with it differently. When I grew up in a little shtibel called Stachin in New York, they sang the happiest tune when they got to this part. The whole shul exploded with joy, and everybody's clapping. And everybody has their way of dealing with Miyichya Miyamos. How did Rebbe Levi Yitzchak or Berditchev deal with this? Rebbe Levi Yitzchak said as follows one time in Rosh Hashanah, Rosh Hashanah Yikosevun. On Rosh Hashanah, Goyim write, Ubiyom Tzom Kippur, and even on Yom Kippur, Yechosemun, they sign their Machal Yom Tov. Kamo Yavrin, how many are going to become pregnant? He said. How many illegitimate, let's put it just this way, pregnancies are they going to be? Kamo Yiboreyun v'ful mamzerim are going to be born amongst the Gentiles. Kamo Yavrin, Kamo Yiboreyun. Frag ich der Eibishter, isn't it clear? Mi yichya, who should live? Umi yamos. And who should, that was Rebbe Levi Yitzchak's take on Rosh Hashanah, Yikosevun, B'Yom Tzim Kippur, Yechosemun. On Yom Kippur, Rebbe Levi Yitzchak is troubled with the bracha that Yidden make. Kiyata Toy V'Salach, we make a whole bracha. Melech, Moichel V'Seleach, and we say the Eibishter's name. So Rebbe Levi Yitzchak says, how do you go and you make such a bracha? You don't even know. Veistachnish, you don't know. So Rebbe Levi Yitzchak says, like a little child who very, very, very money wants candy. Or the story that maybe those days kids wanted an apple. That's what they wanted. The father doesn't want to give him the apple because the family's been waiting to have this one apple. The kid just wants to eat the apple. And what does the kid do? He makes a boida priya eitz, and as soon as he makes a boida priya eitz, the father has no choice. Because the kid said already a bracha. If you give him the trigger to make a bracha levatala, the father can't allow the kid to make a bracha levatala. So same as with the Jewish people. We are smart little children. We say, Baruch Ata Hashem Melech Moichel V'Seleach. And once we made the bracha, then the Eibishter doesn't have a choice anymore. And Vayomer Hashem, Salachti Kidvarecha. Like by Kol Nidre one year, the Rebbe Levi Yitzchak was deep in thought. And he said, when he got to Vayomer Hashem, he said, Eibishter, Zagdu, let me hear you say it. And he was silent for a while. He was waiting, Vayomer. And then he yelled out with all his might, Vayomer Hashem, Salachti Kidvarecha. The Eibishter said, Salach. And I think it was the Ruzhin that said that if Rebbe Levi Yitzchak would not have heard it from the Eibishter, he would not have said, Vayomer Hashem, Salachti Kidvarecha. He heard it directly from the Eibishter. Before Pesach, Rebbe Levi Yitzchak used to say to the Eibishter, he said, Eibishter, you commanded the Jewish people, V'lo yira lecha chametz b'chol gevulcha. There shouldn't be any chametz in all of your property. And it was already an hour before Pesach, Rebbe Levi Yitzchak Berditchever said to the Eibishter, let me see, we go around the town and find me one bag of pretzels in the whole city of Berditchev. You said this 3,000 years ago, you said one pasuk, there shouldn't be any pretzels on Pesach. You're not going to find me one piece of bread and one piece of cake in all the Jewish homes. And there's no guards and there's no policemen doing so. And the Tsar, or the whoever was over there, has given a gezerah that there's not allowed to have certain merchandise, certain things are drugs, I don't know, whatever it was. And you're not allowed to have them. And they have guards and police, and they search. And let's go look, and we can find a lot of marijuana in Berditchev. Even though the guards, and though they were stealing with this, with all of that. Mikamcha Yisrael, the Holy Berditchev said once on Rosh Hashanah, he said, Eibishter, Eibishter, you told us in one pasuk, you said one time, that Yom Teruah Yilachem, that Rosh Hashanah should be a time when you blow, a day of blowing. How many sounds of shofar were heard for the last 3,000 years? You said Yom Teruah, and we give you 100 blows for every. You asked one Teruah, Yom Teruah, and for your one Yom Teruah, we give you 100 blows across the world. All the Jews are blowing and blowing and blowing and blowing for thousands of years. And we are petitioning, and we are begging, and we're crying to you, and we're crying and we're begging only for what? For one sound. Just give him ein mola blows, one blow. For God say no one blow, and you can't give it to us. This one blow you can't give to us. One time Rebbe Levi Yitzchak also said before on Yom Kippur, I think before Kol Nidre, it says by Tikkun Chatzos, there is a pasuk that says that the Eibishter calls for Yom Bechiv, for crying, and Sak, Ve'efer, and Sak. So Rebbe Levi Yitzchak said to the Eibishter, Eibishter, du makest weinen. Du makest weinen, und du hast was zu weinen. Und ich hab nicht kein Rachmanes auf dir, du weinst, weil du kennst dich helfen. He said, Eibishter, you can cry. You have what to cry about. And I don't have mercy and I don't have compassion on you that you're crying, because you can help yourself. That was Rebbe Levi Yitzchak's limud zchus, and the way he argued with the Eibishter like a little child to his father in a way like no one else was able to. And this was the holy tzaddik Rebbe Levi Yitzchak Berditchever.
Suggested donation. When you see once a year who's hungry, buy him a pizza. Okay? Ay, 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 ay. Yale,
Guys, you guys not going yet. You're just starting. We're just warming up.
Beauty dog.
We're just starting. My name is Ruben Wolf. And yours? Yes. We'll be back there.
Buddha Josephs. See you
your name?
around. Buddha Josephs.
Also from Lakewood?
Yeah.
Go to Snaps. Tell Snaps. Chaim. Tell him that you helped make the whole Kumsitz Matzah Shabbat. Yossi, tell Yossi. Chaim. Yossi's my, yeah.
You made a new name?
His name used to be Yossi's, now it's Snaps.
Say something?
Where's the thing?
These 5 minutes, yeah?
L'chaim, l'chaim, l'bracha. So we just sang Yivdu Hashem b'simcha, Yivdu Hashem b'simcha. The joy that Rabbi Levi Yitzchak had in a mitzvah is indescribable. His excitement, his fervor, his passion, his fire was like just beyond human. And so it was in all the mitzvahs. When Rabbi Levi Yitzchak would wait for Sukkot, he would wait. How Rabbi Levi Yitzchak waited Matzah Yom Tov, every Matzah Yom Tov. He couldn't wait to put back on his tefillin. He'd be up all night waiting and running outside looking if it's day already so he can put on his tefillin. On Sukkot morning, the joy he had in shaking the lulav knew no bounds. At one time he was in shul on Sukkot morning and you can see blood dripping. And I was wondering like what happened? Where did Rabbi Levi Yitzchak injure himself? And they realized that unbeknown to him, even after it happened, because of his excitement for the lulav and for the esrog, he actually ran right through the glass that was in, the esrog was held, and it was in a china closet, and he went right through it, and not realizing that his hands are bleeding, and he cut himself really badly. When Rabbi Levi Yitzchak would have the Seder on Pesach by night, he would sit and he would say, Matzazu, matzazu, ay, matzazu. And it was like he's in Gan Eden Elyon, like he just experienced the greatest pleasure and delight. And at certain points, there was such excitement by the Seder that he would tumble right under the table, under the Seder table, and not realizing exactly, because he would be in such a state of Islavus that he would drag the tablecloth, the matzah, and everything in the Seder, everything ended up on top of him under the table. And he would yell, Matzazu, Matzazu. Finally, they would be able to get him out from there, they would set up a new table to say the table, get him a new kittel and a new thing and sit him back down. And he was like, come, hardly coming to himself. When he would make the bracha al Mikra Megillah, he would be so fired up that sometimes he would end up on the bima, almost jumping on the Megillah. That's how intense. On Chanukah, Rabbi Levi Yitzchak one time came out, not Chanukah, Stam Hazeh, and he heard people in the shul, they were talking about something. And so he asked, what are you talking about? And they were embarrassed to say what they were talking about. So he coached them on and he asked them, no, please tell me what you were talking about. So they were saying, they're talking about Graf Petotsky. Petotsky was the big wealthy pirates, Petotsky. So they were talking about the enormous wealth of Petotsky, of his home and his gardens and his servants and his mansions and what goes on and the partying that happens by Petotsky. They were going. So he looks at them and he says, Zugnar, tell me, Petotsky zint Chanukah Licht. Does Petotsky light Chanukah Licht? This question was like, okay, so if he doesn't like Chanukah Licht, so what kind of delight and what kind of pleasure are you talking about? What are we talking about pleasure, delight? But Zugnar, Petotsky zint Chanukah Licht? That was his question. Rabbi Levi Yitzchak was at a certain point in his life, in which year was it? It's Nun Gimel, which corresponds to 1792, 1793. Rabbi Levi Yitzchak had a tremendous nefila. He crashed that year. Something happened spiritually to him. It's makubal. That he had a half a year or a year in his life that he was completely almost like a regular person. He davens very quickly from a regular small little siddur, and he was. It says that Lamaila that year he got into a big scuffle with the accusing angels, and they did this to him. So he kind of was knocked out for a while. Ad kedei kach that he ran away to Koznitz, and he went to his good friend, the Koznitzer Maggid. He spent with the Koznitzer Maggid a couple of months. The Koznitzer Maggid restored his Moichen de Gadlus, his light. How it happened was the Koznitzer Maggid, they were once davening Shemoneh Esrei Shabbos by day, and the Koznitzer Maggid was davening for the Yomit, and he got to the pasuk, Yismach Moshe b'matnas chelkoi. The Kuznetz Maggid said instead of Yismach Moshe, he said Yismach Levi Yitzchak b'matnas chelkoi. And when he was, and it says that what's the matnas chelkoi? That the thousands of lights that Moshe Rabbeinu receives on every Shabbos, it says that Moshe Rabbeinu receives 1,000 lights. So this is the matnas chelkoi. And this is what he was mamshech back to Reb Levi Yitzchak, and Reb Levi Yitzchak was healed. But during the time that he was in Kuznetz, was Shavuos, and Reb Levi and the Kuznetz Maggid went to the mikveh. Shavuos in the morning, he went to the mikveh. Like it's the minhag, you're up all night. Right in the morning when it's alois, mamash as it's becoming dawn, it says that that's the holiest mikveh, one of the holiest mikvehs of the year. The special river that the Malachim dip in and the Shamas dip in, called Nahar Dinar, then enters into every mikveh that we have, and it's a very, very powerful time to go to the mikveh. So the Kuznetz Maggid was on the way to the mikveh, and Reb Levi Yitzchak asked if I can come along. And the Kuznetz Maggid said, no. He said, why? He said, because I like it peaceful when I go to the mikveh, and I know you're going to make a lot of noise, you're going to splash around a lot, and I don't like that. So Reb Levi Yitzchak promised that he's going to behave. So together they walked up, and the way to go to the mikveh was that they go up a hill, and then the mikveh was at the bottom. As they walked up to the hill, and it was at the top of the hill, Reb Levi Yitzchak suddenly yelled out and he said, "Megate, feed in the kala in the mikveh. We're going to lead the kala to the mikveh before her chasana." And out of that rapture of excitement, he rolled down the hill, right into the mikveh. That was Reb Levi Yitzchak's fire. Now, but I talk about Reb Levi Yitzchak and the mikveh. One time, Reb Levi Yitzchak came Erev Yom Kippur very late to shul to Kol Nidrei. People were waiting, and what tzaddik isn't here. And Reb Levi Yitzchak came, and Reb Levi Yitzchak said as follows: this year, there was a great challenge, there was a great opposition, there was a great, what is it called, the gezerah or whatever, regarding Parnasa of the Jewish people. And so I remembered that a few months ago, I had a couple who came to me. He was a rabbi in the city. And the man complained. They came for marriage counseling. The man complained that the wife is willing to the mikveh and she's not going to the mikveh. So the wife said, "Listen here, he's responsible to provide on living. He's not doing his work, so I'm not going." So Reb Levi Yitzchak said, "Paskin, he has to get off the couch and go to work and provide for her and for the children. And she has to do what a good wife has to do, and she has to go to the mikveh." So Reb Levi Yitzchak said, "I remembered that today. And I said, listen here. Like in the Chinese laundry, it used to be when you to go, and if everybody remembers in New York, when we go to the laundry, you had to bring your ticket. If you didn't bring your ticket, they would say, no ticky, no shirty." So this is what happened. Reb Levi Yitzchak said, "Hey, Bishter, if you're not going to provide, I, Reb Levi Yitzchak Rebaditchev, I'm not going to the mikveh." So now we're talking about a deep story. Reb Levi Yitzchak said, "I'm not going to the mikveh." Reb Levi Yitzchak Rebaditchev once traveled. By the way, when Reb Levi Yitzchak Rebaditchev would travel, Reb Nachman of Breslov said to his people that they should check their tefillin. And Reb Nachman himself sent his tefillin to be checked. Because Reb Nachman said that Reb Levi Yitzchak is the tefillin of the Eibishter. Because he's the one. And therefore, if he's traveling and if he's moving, that means the Eibishter's tefillin is moving. It's not being set. So everybody has to check their tefillin. When Reb Levi Yitzchak passed away, Reb Nachman said, if anybody, I'm wondering, he said, if everybody like me, if you can't see the unbelievable darkness that just came to the world without Reb Levi Yitzchak. Anyways, Reb Levi Yitzchak once came to the city of Preshburg. Reb Moshe Sofer, the holy Chassam Sofer, was the rabbi in Preshburg. Reb Levi Yitzchak came to Preshburg. And, the Chassam Sofer wasn't a chassid. You're talking about an old-time Hungarian Oberland, this is like, and the Levi Yitzchak was there, and the Chassam Sofer turned to him and he said, do you know how to learn? Can't stop us learning, do you know how to learn? So the Levi Yitzchak said, if I was like the rabbi of Preshburg, who sits, Baruch Hashem, and has a community that supports him, and has eaten, and has eaten breakfast today, and so on and so forth, then I would also be able to sit and learn. But Levi Yitzchak hasn't eaten for 2 days. He was very, very weak. So the Chassam Sofer said, bring some epis and bring him something to eat. So they brought him some cake and something. And the Chassam Sofer went back to his books. And he was deeply involved in learning. And the Levi Yitzchak is sitting and he doesn't touch the food. Doesn't touch the food. So the Chassam Sofer says, it turns after a while, because he picked his head up from his, after half an hour, and he sees, why don't you eat anything? I thought you're so hungry. So he says the Gemara asks a contradiction. In one place it says, L'Hashem ha'aretz ha'malayai, the whole world belongs to Hashem. The other place it says that Wa'ad va'aretz nasan l'bnei Adam, Hashem gave it to man. Is it belong to us or it belongs to the Eibishter? The Gemara answers, Kan lefnei habracha, kan la'achar habracha. Before a bracha, it belongs to the Eibishter. After a bracha, it belongs to man. Now, how can you give me to eat if it's not even yours? You can't be machabed me with something that's not yours. If you'll make a bracha first, if you'll make a bracha, then it'll be yours. Then you can be machabed me with the food. So the Chassam Sofer, even though he wasn't ready for lunch, went and made a bracha. And then he was machabed. Rabbi Levi Yitzchak ate. So now he turns to me and says, no, so tell me, canst to learn? Do you know how to learn? He says, let me learn. If you show me something, then I can understand. So the Chassam Sofer showed him a Tosfos that he was learning. And it was a very complicated Indian, and he had a murder kasha on it, the Chassam Sofer, and he didn't understand. He had a kasha on the Tosfos. So the Levi Yitzchak looks at the Tosfos. And suddenly he stands up and he starts saying Rosh Hashanah, what we say Rosh Hashanah by night, LeDavid Mizmar. And he says it like the Badicheva says LeDavid Mizmar. It was like fire in the room. It was like Rabbi said earlier, Rabbi Akiva, on one end of the room to the other end. He said LeDavid Mizmar like explosive. And the Chassam Sofer is watching. And after he finishes LeDavid Mizmar, he opens up back to the page and he gives him a brilliant explanation on the Tosfos. So here the Chassam Sofer is already open. Okay. So he says, okay. Who you are, I see already. He says, you're good. But why did you have to say Dafka LeDavid Mizmar? Why this? You davened, the Eibishter answered you, and why LeDavid Mizmar? So he said, because the Baal HaTosfos, the Tosfos was made by a whole group of great scholars. This particular Baal HaTosfos, his name is Mushrish in LeDavid Mizmar. So when I said LeDavid Mizmar, I was evoking that his neshama should come to me and reveal to me Pshat in the Tosfos. So he evoked Avkin. That's the inyan of a Rebbe, that he knows where everybody's neshama is mushrash, whether the people that are alive now, or whether the people that were alive back then. And he knew that here is where Reb Levi Yitzchak's good friend was Reb Shmelka of Niklasburg. Reb Shmelka of Niklasburg actually was the one who brought him to Chassidus. Reb Levi Yitzchak went, he met Reb Shmelka of Niklasburg, and he was then the Rav in the city of Rich, I forgot what it is, Rich Hall, I forgot the name. And he introduced him, the holy Reb Shmelka introduced Reb Levi Yitzchak to the holy Maggid. He brought him to the Maggid for the first time. And that's when Reb Levi Yitzchak became a chassid. And by the way, I forgot to mention, when I told you about what the Baal HaTanya said about the Reb Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev, that they built a whole heichal of schus, the Baal HaTanya then said that the entire derech and avodah that Reb Levi Yitzchak took to be melamed schus on Yidden, he derived that type of avodah, melamed schus on Yidden, from 3 or 4 Torahs that he heard from the Maggid, in the name of the Baal Shem Tov, in the Zayda, in the name of the Zayda, because the Baal HaTanya used to refer to the Baal Shem Tov as the grandfather. So he heard 4 Torahs, 3 or 4 Torahs that he heard from the Maggid and the name from the Zayda, from the Baal Shem Tov, and that was enough to etch inside of him Avas Yisrael to such a degree that this became his entire passion and his fervor in all his life. And then the Balatanya said that as great as the Avas Yisrael was of Reb Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev, kumtisnish to the Avas Yisrael of the Baal Shem Tov. It still doesn't compare to the love. And the Baal Shem Tov said that if a Yid, that for every Jew, even a Jew you never met, you'd be willing to give your life up. It was the Avas Yisrael of the Holy Baal Shem Tov. So when the Levi Yitzchak came, him and Reb Shmelka were very good friends, and when Reb Shmelka left the town of Ritschel or something like that, Reb Levi Yitzchak became the rabbi in that town. As I mentioned earlier, we had a lot of redifas, a lot of persecution from the non-Hasidim. One time he had to run away on a Shana Rabbah from the city. They Pasha chased him out of the city. He ran away on a Shana Rabbah with his lulav and his esrog. He ran to Koznitz. There's 2 times he went to Koznitz. Then later he became Rav in the city of Zelachov, in which in the city of Zelachov again he had tremendous redifas. A lot of. There's a letter from the son of Rebbe Melech of Lezensk where he's writing about the persecutions to the rabbi of Zelachov, which is Rebbe Levi Yitzchak. Rebbe Melech is talking about it, and Rebbe Lazar says, my father said to me, what's the chiddush? Avram Avinu, they also Nimrod threw him into the Kivshan Eish. In other words, that they're roidef at tzaddik, it shouldn't shock you, because it's been an old story that a tzaddik has redifas. Finally, he became Rav in Pinsk, and there's a whole long story with his Rabbanis in Pinsk, where they threw him out of being rabbi, and they made another rabbi in his place. The ganze Maisa. Finally, when he was 45 years old, in the year Tavkuf Memhei, and he was also 45 years old then, and it was the 45th day of Sfiras Omer. He was selected and appointed to be the Rav in Berditchev, and only in Berditchev he had peace of mind. Levi Yitzchak said that there were triple Memhei, because it was the 5th, and we know there's one of Hashem's names is called Shem Ma, the name of Bittul, and then Levi Yitzchak became Rav of Berditchev on the 45th day, in the year 45, when he was 45 years old. He became Rav of Berditchev. So I wanted to say was that when he came one time to the Shmelka of Nicholasburg, to his house, people didn't know, he was an old friend of his, but he came. And when he came inside, Rebbe Levi Yitzchak he had a derech that he was able to talk about anything in the world, and while he's talking, you thought he had just ordinary conversation, but his conversation was Dvarim Ha'omdim Berumish Halaylam, was very exalted stuff. So he comes in, and Reb Shmelka didn't know that he's there, and he walked into the kitchen, and he was dressed with his talis and his tefillin, and he used to wear 2 tefillins at the same time. So he comes and he walks into the kitchen, and he asks the wife of Reb Shmelka of Nicholasburg, what's for lunch today? Now, him wearing his talis and tefillin, she was a little taken aback. He looked like a chashav rav, and he's talking about what's for lunch. So she told him what's for lunch. He said, how about, and she had many helpers who were working. She says, are they good cooks? And he's inquiring about what's happening in the kitchen, who cooks what's going on. And the people that were watching were getting a little annoyed that this is what a rabbi does in the morning with his talis and his tefillin on. Then he comes to the shul. When he comes into shul, as soon as he walks in, he finds a guy. And this is the type of guy that, that would annoy everybody in shul. And Rebbe Levi Yitzchak Punkt finds this fellow. And he gets in him, and he gets into a conversation with him. And he's talking, and he's wearing his talis and his tefillin. And he's talking with this troublemaker. Meanwhile, Rebbe Shmelka used to daven for the Yomid. And Rebbe Shmelka used to be very makbid that no one talk in his shul. It was always very quiet. And Rebbe Shmelka used to daven with tremendous eslavus. That's where Rebbe Levi Yitzchak learned. Rebbe Levi Yitzchak looked at Rebbe Shmelka as his Rebbe in Nigla, and Rebbe Shmelka writes to Rebbe Levi Yitzchak, my Rebbe in Pnimiyas HaTorah, in Nista. So Rebbe Levi Yitzchak is the derech of it, such outward, powerful, his slavos and fire was what he got from Rebbe Shmelka of Nicholasburg. So now he's sitting and talking there, imagine the back of the shul, and the Talmidim are getting so upset because the Rebbe is davening and he's talking loudly. And one of them wanted to go over and pick up this stranger, whoever it was, and throw him out of the shul. But he was just afraid that it would make a bigger commotion. So he held himself back. Davening was over, Rav Shmelka turns around and he sees Rabbi Levi Yitzchak. He runs over, he grabs him, and he takes him to the table, and he sits him down right next to him. And when they brought him breakfast, he had him eat like together with him at the same. So the students were shocked with this guy. We saw him in the kitchen today, busy with food, talking with the women over there, what's for lunch, what they're eating, what the dishes, who cooks well. But the whole thing was so, and that he sits in shul, talks with the lowlife. They were very upset about it. So they tell, one of them actually spoke up. And he said to Rebbe, with a fellow like this, you'll be makar of him, such kiruvim? Do you know who this guy is? You know what he treats his tefillin, the bizayah? So the Shmelka said like this. The Gemara says that Rav loy sach sichas chulin kol yama. That Rav never spoke sichas chulin. Never spoke idle, stam, mundane talk all his life. The sage Rav. So Shmelka said, is that the biggest thing we can say about Rav? You know the madrigas of a tzaddik that he didn't speak? And why did they say it only about Rav? Other people did stam. These Tanoim and Amoraim just spoke sichas chulin. Whatever they spoke was holy. So he says it doesn't mean that he never stam yented. It means not that he didn't speak. Rav would talk to everybody. Rav had conversations with people all along, but there was never a sichas chulin because every word that Rav spoke, and it could look like absolute ordinary stuff, worldly things, he had miyachid yechudim. He did unifications, supernal unifications. Every word with deep mystical secrets, even though it appeared like down here. And the difference of Rav and all the others is that Rav was able to hold on to such a moichin for the entire day. Most people, even big tzaddikim, they can only have such moichin de gadlus to be able to connect every word that they speak in worldly things, that it should have godly significance. It's only for the first 3 hours of the day, which is timer. And it says, I can only have such moich in the first 3 hours. But Reb Levi Yitzchak, he's like Rav, who's loy sach sichas chulin all his life, and is able to be in the state of moich and the gadlus. And you think that when he's talking in the kitchen about what's happening in the kitchen, he's talking about lakshan and potatoes. So you're totally not getting who this is. That's Reb Levi Yitzchak's friend, Reb Shmelka. And when it comes to tzaddikim, it's important to know that when you look at them, you're not really seeing them. You think you're seeing them. You don't see them. Because they turn down the volume. They don't let you to see them. Reb Levi Yitzchak, the Kamarna Rebbe writes in his Chumash, Heichel Bracha, that Reb Levi Yitzchak had a vision where he saw the Shekhinah, where he saw a light, the Shekhinah, shining with a brightness far brighter than the sun. And he saw the Shekhinah with keshutei kala, with all the keshutim, all the jewels, which each jewel was brighter than the sun. But Reb Levi and Reb Levi Yitzchak, and the Shekhinah said to Reb Levi, this is what he writes, the Shekhinah said to Reb Levi Yitzchak, Levi Yitzchak, don't be a chazak, be strong. You're going to have terrible persecutions. But you should know that you're going to prevail over them all. But this was the second time Reb Levi Yitzchak saw the Shekhinah. There was an earlier time Reb Levi Yitzchak said that when he was by the Magid. He was by the Mezritcher Magid once on Rosh Hashanah. It was Shabbos Rosh Hashanah, the first day there was no Tkiyas. Second day Rosh Hashanah by the Holy Magid. The Magid was weak, he didn't blow shofar that day. And when it came to Mincha time, Reb Levi Yitzchak stood by the wall and the Magid was by his place. And after Shmoynes, Reb Levi Yitzchak gives Eidos, testimony. After Shmoyne Esrei, the Magid turned around. And when the Reb Levi Yitzchak saw the face of the Magid, he saw that mamish the Shekhinah on the face of the Magid. And he started in all of her colors, whatever that means, I don't know. And when he saw that, he almost fainted, he turned pale, and he started shaking like a leaf. When the Magid saw what happened to Reb Levi Yitzchak, the Magid quickly turned around, stood by the wall for a few seconds or a couple of moments, then turned around again, and there was nothing there. So the tzaddik sometimes, if he forgets to put his, it says by Moshe Rabbeinu that Moshe Rabbeinu had a mask. Sometimes the tzaddik, if you catch a moment that he forgets to pull his mask down. But you also have to have the eyes. You have to have the eyes. So tzaddikim, they tone down their light because, l'chaim, l'chaim.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Shukayach. There's also a lot. I don't know what to do. Oh, Eloikai, Memeko, Keliato, Veyoideko, Eloi Memeko, Keliato, Veyoideko, Eloikai, Keliato, Veyoideko, Eloikai, Aroi Memeko, Keliato. Thank you. And Mendel. Shkoyach. Thanks for your help. Keliato ve'yoideko Elokai Aroi Memeko. Yes. I packed two. Oh, great. I folded them, so one of them is yours. Moshe. Next month is going to be Rabbi Yisrael of Ruzhin. Bezos Hashem. The Ruzhin yard site is coming up this week. Gimel Cheshvan. Oh, Hashem. Comes the winter, we need some. Not next month. But Halloween Tuesday or Wednesday. Which day do you want?
Tuesday's a shorter yain. The only difference in the 2 days is the yain.
2 times Kitayv. The Mile of Tuesday is that it is. The Mile of Tuesday is that it is still Tishrei, so we can connect the energy of Tishrei and the Cheshvan.
But the Rishon sing the Rishon.
Once it's cool, we can. We're done already. I'm finished. Yeah, you can. This week is the yard site of coming up, the yard site of the Holy Rabbi Yisrael of Ruzhin. So from tzaddik to tzaddik, we'll sing the niggin associated with the. It's from the Ruzhiner dynasty, but not from the Ruzhiner himself. But okay, it's good enough. We don't know. We know from Shlomo Carlebach. That's it.
We know from Shlomo, right?
That's it.
Well, anybody else calls us the Baal Shem Tov?
Shabbos. Everybody don't forget the bench. high esteem that you see that the Alter that in Chabad they had for Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Berdichev was that the Alter Rebbe was arrested. He sent immediately a kvittel to Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Berdichev, and when the shliach came to Rabbi Levi Yitzchak, and Rabbi Levi Yitzchak asked, "What's the Alter Rebbe's mother's name?" And he forgot, because in the haste he forgot to ask him for his mother's name. Rabbi Levi Yitzchak opened up a chumash, and it said, and it opened up to Parshas Miketz. It says, "Vayar Yaakov," that Yaakov saw ki yashever b'Mitzrayim, shever is Rosh Tevis Shneir ben Rivka. So that's how we know. Later, when the Alter Rebbe is released from prison, his first letter that he sent is to Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Berdichev to notify Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of his release. Now, there was one tzaddik that we're gonna fabring about him one week, because this tzaddik is like he's like, but he couldn't mess with him, and that's the Baruch of Mezhebush. The Baruch of Mezhebush was he was a grandson of the Baal Shem Tov, yeah, and he didn't get along with anybody, and the Berdichever was one of his targets. He used to always make fun of the Berdichever. And there was once a son, Rav Moshe from Zvil. He was a son of the holy Rav Michal of Zlochev. And he came to spend Shabbos by the Baruch of Mezhebush. And the Baruch of Mezhebush used to sit very royal. And as he's sitting by his tish, he had a person who would get up and make freilach by the tish. And this Yid, I forgot his name, Rab Aaron something. And this Rab Aaron was an unbelievable impersonator. So he would got up in front of the tish and started imitating Rab Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev's slavas. And he knew how to do it perfectly. He knew how to literally, and he was throwing himself and doing it and making, and Rab Baruch was sitting and laughing. This Rav Moshe of Zvil is going seething, because he knows Rabbi Levi Yitzchak is a Kedusha like him. He's an angel of God. And Baruch of Mezhebush is sitting there laughing at the tzaddik as if it was. He couldn't take it. But after all, you can't do anything, because, the Hasidim would beat you up, So he's sitting there behaving. He's not saying anything. He spent the entire Shabbos, and it continued a few times during Shabbos, by the Tishin and everything. It bothered him so much. He decided he was planning to stay for 2 weeks for another Shabbos, but he said, enough is enough. I'm getting out of here after Shabbos. So Sunday morning, Baruch is an Einik of the Baal Shem Tov. So he goes in to say goodbye, and Baruch says to him, "You're leaving already? You just came." He said, "I'll tell you the truth. I couldn't stand what was going on Shabbos. How can you sit there and laugh when the guy's making fun of Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev at Ishal Akim, a godly man like that, and you're just laughing?" So Rabbi Baruch looks at him, and Rabbi Baruch says, "Oich meragute yid." Or you're also a Rebbe. Oich meragute yid. Gute yid meant the Rebbe. Du bist oich a gute yid. You're also a good yid. Do you bichlal understand what's going on? He says, "You don't understand anything." He says, in Himmel and in heaven, there is a kitro coming from the Satan saying that when Rabbi Levi Yitzchak davens, he has all the kavanas of the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur when he did the Avodah. And therefore, in Shemayim, they're saying, who needs a Beis HaMikdash? And who needs because the Eibishter has the Tainuk from Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev for his davening, the same like to having a Beis HaMikdash and the Kohen Gadol and the whole Avodah. And there is a consideration that maybe it's true. So in order to diminish that I have to make fun of Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev, and that kind of I make a joke out of him. So it takes away that in it. And another time he said that Malachim, Serafim, and Oifanim are jealous of the avodah of Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev. Angels in heaven are envious of him, and that can harm him. So that's why I poke fun of him, and I actually protect him through the fun that I make fun of him. Chaim. Now if I bring in the starter. No? Sing it again. You must have come, when you came here, you must have been singing on the way here. What were you singing? but we sang it, but you can sing it again.